The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
I don't know. It's possible that Nimbar detected Voldek using the portals and called the Sentinels before he even arrived on the planet, but... Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another 2 Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode reviews. I've talked about this before, but I am running out of time to get this show reviewed before Beast Morphers returns, presumably next month. I have tried to do a double episode review for this show in the recent past, but the script for the first episode got so long that I just decided to do it as one episode. Time is a luxury that I just do not have anymore, and I have to do one of the most difficult things for me to do in making videos: edit myself. My scripts for episode reviews are usually about 6 pages. In this case, I am going to limit myself to 4 pages for each episode. I'm going to say right off the top that one of the ways that I am doing that is something that I've been considering doing for a while anyway to get videos shorter: eliminating the descriptions of the pros and cons. Honestly, if I've done my job in reviewing the episode, each of the pros and cons should already be described in the plot recap. So I'll recap the plot, then give the pros and cons and the score. Believe it or not, this should honestly eliminate about 6 paragraphs from every script. Hopefully that'll be enough, but I'll also be doing a little more summarizing and just shortening the script. And now this intro is entering its 4th paragraph, so I better get this going before I give away too much of that precious script real estate. Power Rangers, as it exists right now, has at least 7 alternate universes, dimensions, timelines, etc., etc. You've got the main TV timeline. You've got the RPM dimension. You've got the Dino Charge dimension. You've got Lord Draven's Antiverse. You've got the world of the Boom comics, and within that, you have the world of the Coinless and the Beyond the Grid dimension. Alternate realities are a pretty common trope in this kind of storytelling. Heck, Kaizoku once used a dimensional tuner to find an alternate reality where I had become something of a Power Rangers comic reviewing version of one of my idols atop the 4th wall's Linkara. Yada yada, it's so funny that I'm suddenly bringing this up. It can't possibly have anything to do with the episode I'm about to review, sarcasm, etc., etc. Let's take a look at the 33rd episode of Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills, The Glitch. Please make sure you're subscribed to my channel to see all of my videos. Ring that bell, get your notifications set up so you're notified whenever I post brand new videos like this episode review. And if you're interested in lending any financial support to my channel, please consider checking me out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos. Well, Emperor Gorganis is sure cooperating with my plan to tighten up scripts for double reviews, as his plan in this episode is incredibly simplistic. He tells Voldek to overcharge Earth's atmosphere with electricity, causing massive lightning storms.
That was a great scene.
At the cafe, the Sentinels are attending what I at first thought was a campaign rally for Gordon's mom, Mayor Henley. Now, they've already done the campaign rally thing once before, but at the time I was thinking, hey, you know, campaigns last a long time. Maybe last time was for the primary elections and this is for the regular election.
Who knows? Not me. Who cares? Ditto Mark.
Lori pulls Gordon aside to get a quote for the school paper. He gives a very rehearsed and trite answer, annoying her. Off the record, he admits that it can be boring attending political rallies with a bunch of dumb speeches and old people and etc., etc. Lori admits that being the popular girl can also be a bit of a grind, and Swinton says he wouldn't know. How could this happen to me? Drew walks over saying that you couldn't pay her enough to get involved with politics. The Sentinels sure are talking a lot about things in their lives that they either are or are not satisfied with. Their tattoos flash, but Gordon's mom catches him and says that she's giving her acceptance speech in about 30 minutes and she wants him at her side at the podium. Okay, so this isn't really made clear until later, and I don't think acceptance speech is the right term, but Gordon's mom has been re-elected as mayor of Beverly Hills, and she's going to be giving her victory speech. The portal is in the parking lot. 33 episodes. The portal is almost always upstairs or in the kitchen, so why now? You know what? I don't care. They head to the cave. Voldek is creating a negative ion storm that could wipe out not just Earth, but the entire galaxy if not met with a matching positive force. I had to check the science on this one, and honestly, it's kind of split. There are negatively charged ions, called anions, but usually they just attract the matching positively charged ions, called cations, and cancel each other out. This fight is also helping my quest for shorter reviews. Voldek zaps at the Sentinels, and they just zap it back until it runs away. Back in the cave, Nimbar warns them to stay alert, but Gordon says he's got to get going. Look, it's already wrist hair o'clock. Listen, I am not petty enough to point out that he looked at an empty wrist to check what time it was. I do that a lot, actually. So why am I pointing this out? Because Gordon is wearing a watch on the other arm. This will fly in the face of trying to get these videos shorter, but I am sorry. They used this. They went with it. They aired it. It's not just that it happened. They didn't refilm it or use a proper take for it. Nobody noticed this while they were filming? Not one person thought that that looked strange? What about Richard Nason, the actor for Gordon? Whenever I check my empty wrist when I'm looking to see what time it is, I feel like an idiot. It's either mind-blowingly lazy or incredibly incompetent.
¿Por qué no las dos?
Anyway, he dives through the portal and the others leave. Arriving at the cafe, Drew is instantly applauded and pulled inside. For a second, I thought that she might now be the mayor because of the whole speech she gave about not ever wanting to get involved with politics. But mayors in Beverly Hills do have to be at least 18 years old, so it's not her. No, it's actually her aunt Nicole, who has now been elected mayor. And we get a glimpse at the sure quality her administration is going to provide, as her first campaign promise she'll act on is to remove all parking meters from the shopping district.
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
The Sentinels quickly realize that they must have been portaled to some alternate universe. They then start learning who they are in this universe, as they've apparently replaced themselves instead of being able to run into themselves. Gordon is no longer the son of a rich politician. He has no money and no credit cards, and then quickly learns that he is the cafe's busboy. Lori goes to talk to two girls sitting nearby, who don't even register her presence, which apparently means she's unpopular now.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Drew is getting crazy media attention and tells Lori that popularity is not all it's cracked up to be. This is when the consistency of the episode's story wobbles a little bit. The other three all immediately realize that something is wrong with their roles in this universe. But then Swinton just starts doing a poetry reading from a book of his that's been published. Hey, maybe this universe is a result of him winning that Voice of a Generation contest from a while back. Apparently in this universe, the four of them are still the Galactic Sentinels, as their tattoos flash, and it's back to see Nimbar. Fitting being in an alternate reality, well, sort of fitting. I'll explain. Nimbar doesn't seem to realize that anything is wrong. The Sentinels explain the situation and he does understand, offering a technobabble explanation and saying he needs to figure out which end of the portal has been impacted. The thing is, did this happen in his reality? Were his Galactic Sentinels fighting Voldek and they got portaled to the normal dimension, a transposition?
All right. Let's get started before my headache gets any worse.
Boy, the editing sure is sloppy in this dimension. The Sentinels do their standard jumping one at a time thing. Centaur jumps second, Apollo jumps fourth, 3 seconds after Centaur jumps. But on the left side of his shot, you can see Centaur's big poofy blonde hair. She's still standing next to him, despite having jumped over to Voldek. For Zordon's sake, did they just go down the line and say, you do a jump, you do a jump, you do a jump, and then just zoom in the shots to get that? And not zoom in enough to get her out of the shot?
This is a retroactive outrage!
Oh my god!
Question for you. Are boring fights bad if there's a reason for them to be boring? The Sentinels just zap Voldek away, again, and then portal back to the cave. Gorganis even complains that Nimbars made the Sentinels stronger somehow, promising to reprogram Voldek to compensate. The thing is, the Sentinels are indeed stronger. Nimbar explains that the portals are having a mass-to-light malfunction, which is making them stronger. He says that he can't fix it permanently right now, but this temporary fix should at least get them back home. And as I'm sure you can guess, it did not. It turns out this time that Swinton's dad is now the mayor-elect, and it seems like they switched Lori's popularity onto whoever the child of the mayor is, which doesn't really make any sense. Gordon is rich, but he's not inherently popular like Lori is. Nimbar apparently realizes the mistake, summoning the Sentinels back to the cave. However, Swinton says he's not leaving. Now that he's popular, this universe is his home. The Sentinels head back to the cave and have a rather annoying scene, whining about technical failures that are not Nimbar's fault, and how much their lives just suck in these new realities, and things that I couldn't possibly care less about. Nimbar points out a bigger problem. Voldek is back, and he's stronger because Voldek is stronger. Lori says that they're stronger too, so this is no biggie, but Nimbar says that since this battle could decide the fate of the universe, unlike all of their other fights, all of which can decide the fate of the universe, he will not let them fight without Swinton, since they won't be able to form Nitron. When they arrive back at the cafe, Swinton himself is now the mayor-elect, promising a computer and internet access for every home in the city. That is a very nice, if incredibly expensive promise, especially at the time. The Sentinels say that he has to come with them, and he's all too eager to leave. No, Swinton was not being selfish when he stayed. He was being a scientist. He wanted to see what happened in this universe when the Sentinels left. It stayed exactly the same until they came back. That's when it shifted. This is another one of those things that this show does that seems really clever at first, and then gets more and more confusing the more and more that you think about it. How was Swinton able to observe the changes in the universe? Why didn't he just become that universe's version of Swinton, who wouldn't have any idea that anything weird was going on? How was he able to move from one universe to the other without going through the portals like the other Sentinels? And perhaps the most important question of them all, the episode sure doesn't seem to care, so why should I? Nimbar summons them and they leave after Swinton makes an excuse to this guy that I guess runs the cafe in these alternate realities, attending a conference about the proper use of outer space.
Space, the final frontier.
The Sentinels get to the cave and update Nimbar on Swinton's findings, transforming to fight Voldek again. Oh yeah, Voldek's back. Centaur says, everybody talks about the weather, but we're gonna do something about it.
Shut up, Wesley.
The fight begins and Voldek has the upper hand because, as Nimbar explains, fixing the portals, apparently Nimbar's fixed the portals, has taken away the Sentinels' extra strength. Gorganis tells Voldek to finish the Sentinels off with its final strike. What is it, a Power Ranger? But Voldek's final strike is apparently 2 zaps that don't even land. The Sentinels form Nitron, and I have to tell you, heroes, I love watching Voldek and Nitron fight. Knight versus knight. It's always so exciting. I'm really surprised that they didn't base an entire story around this idea. Two knights fighting, a joust, some kind of historic, maybe time travel based battle. Anyway, they didn't have enough time for any sort of a battle this week, as after a tragically short fight, Nitron just zaps Voldek away. Back in the cave, everything's been fixed. Yay, blah, 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 get out. At the cafe, wait for it, Zsa Zsa Gabor is standing at the podium. And I mean the actual actress, Zsa Zsa Gabor, doing a cameo in this episode. What it turns out was her final appearance on television. That was a fact that I actually got to add to her Wikipedia article, so yay. Since I'm sure that probably the majority of my audience is too young to have any idea who I'm talking about, Zsa Zsa Gabor was a Hungarian actress who had a big career in Hollywood, appearing in nearly 30 films and a variety of television shows. Towards the latter end of her career, she became one of the first actresses to become famous for being famous, living an extravagant Hollywood lifestyle and marrying 9 times. And actually, speaking of 9s, Zsa Zsa Gabor lived to the age of 99 before passing away in 2016. So, yeah, the Sentinels have arrived in a reality where Zsa Zsa Gabor has been elected the mayor of Beverly Hills. You know, thinking about it, that's probably the most realistic alternate universe that they encountered. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was once the governor of California. And let's just take a look at who the president of the United States is. She makes some jokes about changes that she's going to make, and honestly, meaning absolutely no disrespect to the dearly departed Miss Gabor, I could not understand a single word that she was saying. She was rather infamous for having a very thick accent.
As the mayor of Beverly Hills, I promised you we're going to slap the police a little bit around.
What are you talking about? Nimbar observes this from his cave and just says, whoops. And that's it. Episode's over. Let's read the signs. Episode 33, The Glitch. Pros, interesting science fiction alternate reality story. Nice to see the Sentinels' lives kind of swapped around. And cool that they got an actual celebrity on the show. Cons, bit off way more than it could chew scientifically. Didn't seem to really have a point. And another unsatisfying ending. I'm too confused to say if this episode was good or bad. Let's give The Glitch 3 signs out of 5. Okay, so far so good. I'm at the top of page 5, and considering the length of the intro I wrote, doing pretty well. So let's go ahead and take a... What? Oh, okay. Alright, fine. I guess this is your part of the episode. Let's go ahead and quickly take a peek at the second episode that I'm about to review, the 34th episode of TTAF, The Last People on Earth. Thank you. Just gonna cut me out? Shaw, dude. Anyway, dude! Gordon tries to find a man that scammed him, while Voldek starts collecting all the people on Earth. We'll find out what happens next time, except that next time is right now. Let's take a look at the 34th episode of TTAF, The Last People on Earth. I'll spare you all repeating the subscribe, notification, support thing, and we'll just get right to it. The preview, which I really haven't had reason to mention, but they have been using more consistently as of late, reveals that this is another back-to-back monster situation as we're getting Voldek once again. And in fact, Voldek was also the monster back in The Imposter, meaning this is 3 of the last 4 episodes to feature the Electric Knight. Did the makers of the DVD just realize that these episodes don't really have a set order and just group them together by the monsters?
Get on with it!
You know, gotta say, nice patience waiting this long to show up, MPG. Now that he has shown up, another little bit of minutia. During the titles for episodes, we usually get 4 lower notes. Da 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 da. However, this time for some reason we get a sequence of 5 higher notes. Da 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 da. Moving on, Lechner asks Gorganis if he can go molt. This is something else that's been mentioned in a previous episode, but Gorganis says he can, because by the time he returns, Earth will be conquered.
All your base are belong to us.
How? Well, he's giving Voldek a glass pyramid with a piece of quartz in it. I mean, a life form compressor with the attached collecting shard. At the cafe, Gordon comes in crowing about the deal of a lifetime, having bought a CD-playing boombox off of someone's truck on the street for just $25, when it normally costs over $100. Swinton examines it, and Gordon got ripped off. It's hollow. Nimbar summons the Sentinels, but Gordon wants to go and find the scammer that ripped him off. Lori loudly announces, standing in the middle of the cafe and not even trying to whisper, that saving the Earth is more important than getting his money back, and they head to the cave. We then see Voldek portaling down to Earth. So why did Nimbar call the Sentinels? And activating the crystal. Everyone at the cafe, everyone at the school, and Lechner vanish. Why Lechner? He wasn't on Earth. They even made a point of mentioning that Gorganis had to specify what planet he wanted the life forms collected from, and he said Earth. Nimbar tells the Sentinels about Voldek. That's right, those scenes were placed into the episode out of order. I suppose it's possible that Nimbar detected Voldek using the portals and contacted the Sentinels before it appeared on the planet. However, that is not something the episode establishes, so I refuse to give them credit for it. Gordon is in a rush so he can catch the scammer, and they head out. What an exciting fight! They reuse footage of the Sentinels firing their weapons. The footage of Voldek at least is new because it's holding the pyramid thing. And then they surround Voldek and fire Zappy Zappy some more, and then it just vanishes. You will note that I did not say that Voldek ran away or Voldek portaled away, because they don't use an effect. Voldek just fades out of the shot. Gorganis whines to Lechner before he realizes that Lechner's not there. Speaking of not there, the Sentinels return to the cafe, and nobody is there. That's a little bit weird for a Friday afternoon, but what's weirder is that all of the people that were there left all of their stuff. Gordon doesn't care because Gordon is Gordon, storming off to go find that scammer, while the others just find it incredibly creepy and weird that the entire building is empty. Gordon comes back and says it's even stranger than that. There are cars sitting out on the road, running, but empty. They try calling some of their relatives, but nobody answers. Nimbar summons them straight back, but not because of the missing people. Nimbar seems to have these weird sensors that only work actively, no passive scans, because he has no idea about the missing people, even asking if the Sentinels are sure that everyone on the planet has disappeared. Really, they couldn't be sure of that. All they really know about is about one city block and their relatives. Yes, the TV and the radio weren't working either, but there's plenty of reasons for that. Nimbar summoned them back because apparently Voldek also came right back. Seriously, the Sentinels have been in the cafe for like 5 minutes. Drew asks what they would even be fighting for with their friends and relatives gone. How about yourself? Your duties as a Sentinel, which since day one have been described to include defending the entire galaxy. Gordon feels similarly to Drew, but Lori and Swinton jump right up on their discs, and as Gordon says, if nothing else, they need to fight for their team. Voldek sets the crystal down on a building, and since it was holding the crystal the first time it fought the Sentinels, I assume that this was just to reuse fight footage from another episode. but to be honest, I didn't recognize the fight footage. Maybe it was from one of the really early episodes that I reviewed last year or something. Anyway, the Sentinels get pushed around, and here, in the middle of the episode, form Nitron. At this point, I have to mention something that honestly I wasn't going to talk about, but it was just too noticeable in this episode for me not to. I noticed it in the previous episode as well, but I tried to let it go. The video quality on some of these episodes is really, really poor for a DVD release. It's especially noticeable in effect-heavy type visual sequences. There's just a lot of grain on the footage. My best guess as to why is that at this point, very late in the show's run, the decision was made to take it off of NBC and move it back to just USA Network, and maybe with USA, some of the masters of episodes were harder to find, and they just had to go with VHS copies. I also know from the history of Star Trek, mainly with The Next Generation, which was airing about the same time, a little earlier, a little later than this, that the industry was switching over from film to VHS, so maybe that's what happened. And I just heard MPG clear his throat again, so let's move on, shall we? Except that I can't move on because the footage clears up just a moment later. Seriously, I'm gonna risk, and considering the age and rights of the show, it's not really a risk, but I'm going to risk a little bit of full screen for this. It goes from this to this. Seriously, how weird is that? Back in the cave, the Sentinels have now all become incredibly selfish butt monkeys. Now, none of them can see the point in fighting with their loved ones missing. Listen, I'm not heartless. I get it. And Gordon, believe it or not, actually puts this the best, saying that it's much harder to focus on fighting with this going on. However, Lori and Drew put it more to the effect that there is no point in fighting with their loved ones missing. There was an episode very recently that ended with the Sentinels getting a thank you note from another world that would have been taken over by NinjaBot if they hadn't fought. They know there is more on the line here than just Earth. P.S. Credit where it's due, Swinton says that their families may be in an alternate universe, and considering that the last episode was about alternate universes, that was actually pretty clever. Nimbar says that he'll run some scans, but the Sentinels asked to go back to Beverly Hills to check things out themselves. At the school, we get an entirely useless scene as Swinton pieces something together, but we don't get to know what that is until they go back to the cave. Blah blah technobabble, blah blah multimodal reflection sorting. Swinton figures out that Voldek has digitized everyone on Earth. But to do that, he would need some form of life form compressor, kind of like zipping a file. I'm pretty sure that zip files are still a thing today, but it does still make the episode feel rather dated. Lori remembers the pyramid that Voldek was holding, and they know they need to get it away from the monster. But how are they going to do that? Voldek has already captured everyone on Earth. It's not like Voldek is just going to come back and...
Oh, good guess. Wrong, though.
Nah. Voldek is on Earth. Not just on Earth, calling the Sentinels out. Okay, to be fair, besides narrative convenience, the plan isn't exactly done until the Sentinels themselves are dealt with, but Voldek has brought the pyramid along. Leave the pyramid with Gorganis and defeat the Sentinels. Then, even if Voldek loses, Gorganis still has the pyramid and can hold the entire population of Earth hostage. The Sentinels arrive and the fight is about to begin when a hologram of Gorganis' head appears in the sky. "Who's that?" asks Scorpio. "Is that Gorganis?" Lori, and by the way, I'm calling her that just because I'm addressing this directly to her, even though she's technically right now transformed as Scorpio. Lori, you have seen Emperor Gorganis face to face more than freaking once. You know who that is.
You're stupid.
No, Kaizoku, I don't need another dart of Hyperforce logic. I'm fine. Fine. So, to be fair, they do end up going with the hostage thing. Gorganis makes the Sentinels a very simple offer. The lives of everyone on planet Earth in exchange for Nimbar. He gives them 15 minutes to decide. Portal torpedo that'll allow the invasion of a massive army, 2 hours. Deciding what to do with your mentor that runs all of your technology, 15 minutes. Weirdly, this is not written in a way that allows the Sentinels to have an interesting moral debate about this. Nimbar says he would gladly sacrifice his life for humanity if he was able to, but besides the fact, and I am glad that they included this part by the way, that he realizes the sacrifice would be meaningless because Gorganis would just invade anyway, as chief counselor to the Galactic Sentinels and head protector of the power portals, Nimbar is not allowed to place himself in any form of danger.
Excuse me, what?
I mean, really, it's Sophie's choice for the Sentinels anyway, but then Gordon gets an idea. He has Nimbar create a duplicate of the pyramid. Oh, I see where this is going. Do you heroes see where this is going? He tells the others to go stall Gorganis, and they leave. He then asks Nimbar to create a digital copy of himself. Whatever that is. Taurus joins the other and says they agree to their terms, but first they want to see that they're not being cheated. Voldek makes the crystal with humanity in it sing a little or something, and they ask for proof in return. Taurus shows that the crystal that he has contains Nimbar. They go to make the trade, but Taurus quietly switches the crystal behind his back with another one that he is carrying. The trade seemingly made, Voldek attacks, and the Sentinels form Nitron. I'm starting to notice it mainly seems like the Nitron sequence that has the absolute worst of the video quality. I wonder why that is. Again, another great fight between Voldek and Nitron, and this one lasts a little bit longer, which I really enjoyed. Voldek is kind of like a dark reflection of Nitron, again, something that I wish that they would do a story about, so it's always great seeing the two of them fight. Apparently, the villains were cheating as well. Voldek never made the trade because Nitron knocks the human crystal out of its hand, then throws the pyramid at Voldek, which destroys it, and then finishes the Electric Knight off. Back in the cave, Gordon explains the bait and switch to the other Sentinels. Drew asks what was on the crystal that ended up going to Gorganis, and we head to Molecula to find out. Gorganis puts the crystal on his arm, I'm guessing to bring Nimbar out of the crystal and then kill him. And Lechner appears instead, asking why Gorganis has brought him back from his molting trip early.
Excuse me, the f did you just say?
1. Lechner never made the molting trip. He vanished just like all the humans on Earth, with the same visual effect and everything, for reasons that to this point at the end of the episode remain unexplained. 2. How the heck did Gordon make a crystal that would either capture Lechner or summon him back?
It just raises too many questions.
Episode 34, The Last People on Earth. Pros, creepiness on the empty Earth, another clever Gorganis plan, and a clever solution by Gordon. Cons, ongoing technical issues and bad editing, inconsistencies in writing, and no long-term consequences. Not bad, but not great. The Last People on Earth gets 3 signs out of 5. 9th page. I think this worked out pretty nicely. This is a weird little pair of episodes, and sadly by this point I think they realized that the end was near. I know that the order of the episode lists is a little bit debated, but they all agree that these episodes are somewhere near the end of the show's run, and you can tell there's just laziness in the editing and the writing, and sadly by this point I really think
they just did not care.
I think 2 episodes, especially these 2 episodes, are more than enough for one video, so I will continue this race to the finish line next time. Let's take a peek at the 35th episode of TTAF, Emperor for a Day. Me? Again? Cool. Dude! When Emperor Gorganis goes on vacation, Lechner gives conquering the Earth a shot and takes the Sentinels to the brink of defeat by sending and recalling Culebra over and over. That is going to do it for these 2 Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode reviews. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. Now that the video's done, you can let me know in the comments below what you thought of both of these episodes, as well as my rather angry tirade-filled review of each of them. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, heroes, may the power portals protect you. I'll recap the plot. Shoot. That should honestly eliminate about 6 Let's take a look at the 33rd episode of Tattooed Teenage... I think I said let's take the look. And watch, I didn't. Lori pulls Gordon aside to get a quote from the school... And then they just zap him back until... Hey, maybe this universe is a result of him winning that Voice of a Generation contest from a while back. And he does understand, Apollo jumps second, except it's Centaur. The episode doesn't seem to care, so why should we? So, Nimbar summons them and they make their excuses to leave. Swinton, yeah. The episode doesn't seem to care, so why should I? They get called, and a variety of television shows. Starring in nearly, not starring in, appearing in. Thank you. Normally in the nope, doing it again because that sucked. In the title, that's right, these episodes were... But not because of this. Nimbar seems to have these weird passive... Listen. No, Kaizoku. I don't... Yeah. But, and I'm glad they mentioned this part, besides the fact that besides the fact that I don't know what the take is, and there's moths in the room, and my arm itches... God. He asked Nimbar to create a duplicate of the pyramid thing. Taurus joins the others and says